Okay, hi everyone. Our last homework assignment, our last class, we worked on solving for polynomials in a general way. What I mean is if I gave you guys a problem like x squared plus 6x plus 8, and we say equal to 0, we're solving for this polynomial. Polynomial is x squared x and no x. Okay? No fractions here, just everything's in the numerator with just variables of x or whatever variable you want to choose. But there's only one single variable. So one way for us to do this is by factoring. So x, 4, and 2, plus and plus. And we can say, hey, the zeros are x plus 4 is equal to 0, and x plus 2 is equal to 0. Minus 4, minus 4, minus 2, minus 2. X equals to negative 4, and x equals to negative 2. Okay, so factoring is our easiest way of trying to solve these problems. If I want to double check, if I plug in negative 4 squared plus 6 times negative 4 plus 8, this is 16 minus 24 plus 8. Hopefully you notice that 8 and 16 add up to 24. So 24 minus 24 is 0. So we did solve for 0. Another way is a quadratic formula. We also went over quadratic formula last time. By using quadratic formula for x squared problems, x equals to negative b. For x squared plus 6x plus 8, a is 1, b is 6, and c is 8. X equals to negative b, which is 6, plus the minus square root of b squared, which was 6. So 6 squared is 36, minus 4ac becomes minus 32, all over 2a, which is 2. Okay, negative 6 plus and minus 36 minus 32 is 4. The square root of 4 is 2, plus minus 2 over 2. Okay, so we're saving some time, not having to rewrite that. So if you notice, when I do quadratic formula, I do this in like literally 2 moves. Now, we have 2 possibilities here. Negative 6 plus 2 over 2, which gives us negative 4 over 2, which is negative 2. Guess what? That was one of our answers. Our next answer, oops. X equals to negative 6 plus, we already did the plus. Minus 2 over 2 is negative 8 over 2, which is negative 4. Happy coincidence? I think not. Today what we're going to do is we're going to go even larger. Okay. Now, we've talked about problems like grouping, and we could factor a trinomial by grouping. These problems here that we're going to introduce today are not grouping problems. And we can try to test them to see if they are, but they're not going to be. A grouping problem, actually, you know what? Let's look back to what a grouping problem would look like. And this would look like this. W cubed, sorry, let's not use W, let's use X again. X cubed plus 10x squared minus 9x minus 90. Could we solve this by grouping? Now, look at the front and the back terms separately. These are 2 different groups now. Look at the front and back terms separately. Do you see anything in the front that we can factor out in common? Variables or constants, or both? Variables or constants, or both? Hopefully you'll notice that there is an x squared in common in the front. An x squared in common in the front. So let's factor out that x squared. If I take out the x squared, we're left over with x plus 10. In the back, hopefully you notice that we both have a 9. So I'm going to take out the negative 9, because if I take out the negative 9, we would also end up with x plus 10 for both these terms. We factor out what's in common. I see x plus 10 in common now. That was revealed to us. We have x squared minus 9. Wow, we were able to factor that x cubed problem using a simple rule here called factor by grouping. From here, I can see I can factor x squared minus 9 to become x plus 3 and x minus 3, x plus 10. So we have now been able to factor out all the possibilities. So we have x plus 10, x plus 3, x minus 3. And if I multiply them all back together, we would end up with x cubed here. And that is the goal of today's assignment, except we're not always going to be able to factor by grouping. factor by grouping is a win. If you can factor by grouping, congratulations, you saved yourself a lot of time. But for the most part, we will not be able to factor by grouping. Now, here's the example I'm going to give you guys right now. The example is x squared plus 8x minus 99x minus 810. So this is a cubed, I'm sorry. Cubed and squared, I'm sorry. So here's my example here. X cubed plus x squared, and then 99 and negative 810. So I'm going to ask you guys to factor this. Well, why are we working so hard about factoring? Remember how before we solved for 0, if I changed our previous problem just slightly, and I said, you know what, solve for 0. How could we solve for the variables that would lead this problem to 0? It would be impossible for us to guess what x values would make that go to 0. And there is no quadratic formula for x cubed. But if we were able to factor, you can see now that negative 10 would make this go to 0, negative 3, and positive 3. These three answers here would make the problem go to 0. And that's our long-term goal right now. I can't go up right now, maybe later. I'm actually going down. So the way we're going to do this problem here is use what we did before. And that's synthetic division or long division. Synthetic division or long division. So for us, let's use synthetic division. And on your homework today, I will tell you which factor, which x value would work. I'm going to tell you which x factor is going to work. So let's go set up synthetic division. I'm going to give you guys a moment here to set up synthetic division. Just the front. I want to tell you that the root, one of our zeros, is going to be 10. So you're going to write 10 in the front, and you're going to write also the factor x minus 10. If you remember us doing synthetic division, we wrote 10 in the front, and then we wrote the factor in the front. So hopefully you're writing 1, 8, negative 99, and negative 810. 1, 8, negative 99, and negative 810. Okay, I want you guys to go ahead and do synthetic division on this yourself, if you guys remember how. I'll give you guys, let's give you guys 15 seconds. Okay, let's see if you guys are done with that. 1, 10, 18, 180, 81, 810, and 0. If you guys are able to finish that in 15 seconds, great job. We are left with x squared plus 18x plus 81. Now, we went from x cubed to x squared, and when we get to x squared, we should be able to factor this by hand. Now, can we factor this by hand? Two numbers that multiply to become 81, but still add up to become 18. And that would be 9 and 9. Hopefully you guys can catch that. X, 9, and 9, and that's going to be plus and plus. So what are the factors of this whole expression? The factors are going to be x minus 10. That was the first one that we took out. And then x plus 9 and x plus 9. These are the factors.
Where did you get negative 10 exactly?
Okay, so if you remember in synthetic division, we use the 10, we plug in the 10. But 10 is our answer. That gave us a 0. What's the question? The question is x minus 10. That's the factor that when we plug in 10 would make this problem go to 0. So
if it's equal to 0, then we can put it in there?
That means it's actually a factor. So
okay.
Another example is, so remember this was also what we call our remainder.
Yeah.
So if I say, what's 10 divided by 5? That's 2. And your remainder?
2.
right? So, but are there any remainders?
Oh,
from
no,
this?
sorry.
No.
No
So
remain.
if we could divide 10 by 5 and there's no remainders, we know 5 is a factor of 10.
I see.
If I say 12 divided by 3, that's 4.
4.
No remainder. That means 3 is a factor of 12.
Okay.
If I say, though, 15 divided by 2, that's 7 remainder 1. And that means 2 is not a factor of 15.
Yeah.
Okay? So us using our answers here in synthetic division to see if they are factors is because if it gives me a 0, that means a 0 remainder. The factor would have been x plus 10. So let me give you some other examples. If I told you if it was negative 3, and if negative 3 worked, what was the factor? It was really x plus 3, because the 3 made that go to 0. If I gave you negative, let's say 15, and it gave me a 0 at the end, it means x minus plus 15 worked, because the negative 15 canceled out with the positive 15 and gave me a 0 at the end.
Yeah. I got it. Thank you.
Brittany, is that also a little bit better?
So basically, you just kind of guess?
Yeah. So so I'm only teaching part of the skill, but this skill here, they will always give you the roots on my homework right now. But if this was an actual problem, I'm going to teach in pre-calculus. And if we weren't in distance learning and I had more time, we would go through all the possibilities of how I got 10 as a possibility. And what we do is we actually look at this last term here and we say, hey, what numbers make up 810? That's 1 times 810, 2 times 405, 3 times 270. And then you would go through all the lists, and then you end up with 10 and 81. And all these terms here are all possible zeros. So that's another lesson. Okay, that's another lesson where you don't really have time for it. But the skill is that we end up trying all these possibilities till we get one that sticks. And what I mean by sticks, we get a 0 at the end.
Okay.
That's like the long story. Now, if you find out the number that works, we can write a factor out of it. So, did 10 work? Yes, because we got a 0. That means we can write a factor of it, and that factor was in the original problem. And on your homework today, I will give you the roots. I will give you the numbers that work. I'll say 4 is a 0, or 4 is a root. In this case, I'll tell you 10 is a root. And we can use that to start off using synthetic division to break down the problem. Okay, so let me do one more example here. The next problem is x cubed plus 13 x squared plus 26z, x minus 112. And if I say solve for 0 here, my problem is, what in the world, how am I supposed to figure out what numbers would make this go to 0? What in the world, okay? And we can try by grouping. I see, maybe I can take x squared out here, but I need a 13 in the back. And there's no 13 in the back here. Okay, so this probably won't match up. So in the problem, on your homework, I will tell you which root to try. Okay, I'll tell you try negative 8. So we draw synthetic division, and you're going to write negative 8 here. Go ahead and set up synthetic division. If I write negative 8, I know for sure x plus 8 will be a factor. Okay, this will be given. In this easy homework assignment, this will be given. That will be given. In the real world, it will not be given, and we have to figure out how to come up with that number. And that's for another lesson. But because we're kind of limited on time, we're kind of just going it through this way. Okay, so I'm giving it to you for you guys to first start. Maybe on the next class, we'll take it away. But we'll see. We'll see how you guys do on this one. Okay, synthetic division, 1, 13, 26. and negative 112. 1, negative 8, 5, negative 40. I think that's like 14. Negative 14. And then that's 14 times 40 is 80 plus 24. 80 plus 34 is positive 112. Is 0. Folks, if you guys don't multiply this way, the way I multiply, I say 8 times 14, right? Might be your classic way of doing it. I don't do it this way. I do it, what's 8 times 10? And what's 8 times 4? That's what I'm doing in my head. 8 times 10 is 80. And then 8 times 4 is 32. And I can add 8 and 3 to be 11 and 2. 11 left over 2. That's what I'm doing in my brain. Okay, now we have x squared plus 5x minus 14. Now my question is, can you factor this now? X squared plus 5x minus 14. Can you guys type in the chat what two numbers would work? If you guys can figure out what numbers. Oh, that was fast. Okay, hopefully you guys are able to do these a lot faster now. 7 and 2 is correct. 7 times 2 is 14, and 7 minus 2 is 5. Let's make sure we get the correct order. X, 7, and 2. We need more positives, so bigger number will be 7, and smaller number will be negative, because we still need that negative 14. Okay, what are all the factors? The factors are x plus 8, x plus 7, and x minus 2. What are the zeros? What values would make this all go to 0? The zeros would be negative 8, negative 7, and positive 2. Now, one cool thing is that, remember, synthetic division is in the fast way of multiplication. It's like our human calculator. And when I tried negative 8, yep, that gave me a 0 already. When I tried negative 7 here, yep, that gives me a 0. And when I try positive 2, yep, that gives me a 0. I'm going to verify this one time, plugging in 2 into the original problem. 2 cubed plus 13, 2 squared plus 26 times 2. Please don't actually do this on a test. You're just going to burn your time. And let's see, does this equal to 0? 8, 4 times 13 is 40 plus 12 is 52. Plus 52. Okay, we're at 104 plus 8 is 112 minus 112 is 0. Zero is one of the solutions. No. We have negative 8 is a solution. Negative 7 and 2. 0 is not one of the solutions. 0 would have been one of the solutions if we saw something like this, where there's x's across. 0 plus 0 is 0. But in this case, you don't see an x all the way across. There is a constant then, so 0 is not one of them. Okay. When we plug in our answers, we do get 0. That's our goal, for us to end up with 0 at the end. Okay, so do you guys believe me that this answer works? We checked 2 of them. I really don't want to check the third one. Okay. Oops. Come on. Okay. Oh, didn't work. Okay, let's do one more problem together. The problem is x cubed plus 12x squared plus 39x plus 28. The first thing you want to try to do, just could you do grouping? If you could do grouping, oh my gosh, life would be so much easier if you could do grouping, right? But in this case, you can see 39 and 28 are probably not going to end up with 12. Okay, so I'm going to give you the number to try. We want to solve for 0. We're going to do this by factoring, and I'm going to tell you the first number that's going to work. it's going to be negative 1. Negative 1 is one of the roots. A root is another way of saying a 0. So let's go set this up with negative 1. Okay, I'm going to give you guys about a minute or two to go and try solving this yourselves. Okay, hopefully you had enough time. Let's go ahead and start it. Our factor is going to be x plus 1 if this does work. 1, 12, 39, and 28. 1, negative 1, 11, negative 11. This is 28, negative 28. Yay, winner, winner, chicken dinner. So we know we have a 0 at negative 1. Our leftover problem is x squared plus 11x plus 28. Okay, let's go ahead and factor. What numbers do you think work here to make up 28 but add up to 11?
7 and 4.
7 and 4, you got it. Fast. 7 and 4, plus and plus. Okay. If you're not sure about how to factor, remember I read out all the possibilities for 28. 1, 28, 7, and 4. These are my only options. And 7 and 4 do add up to 11. Okay, that plus sign and minus sign tells you what to do with those numbers. All right, so to rewrite this, our original problem becomes x plus 1. Don't forget x plus 1, that was a factor. X plus 7, and then x plus 4. How do we make this go to 0? Our zeros here are going to be, we said negative 1 worked already, negative 7, and negative 4. Okay, why are they always negative here? They're not always negative. What happens is I'm trying to make this term here go to 0. And negative 7 plus 7 would make that go to 0. And 0 times anything is 0. That's what we call zero product property. Zero product property. And it's our cheat. If I can make something go to 0, that makes the problem easier. Okay, so on what we're doing here, like this is mainly the skill that we're covering today. Oops. Sorry, my computer went low, haywire. Okay. We have one more skill just to double check. Give me 1 second. The last part of the homework I want you guys to practice is what we call multiplicity. We mentioned before multiplicity. When you hear the word multiplicity, it means the answer appears multiple times. Multiple times. So if I give you a question, x squared plus 4x plus 4 is equal to 0, we can factor it. 2 times 2 is 4. X plus 2, x plus 2. What would make this go to 0? Negative 2 and negative 2. Look, x happened twice, and that's totally okay. But when you answer it, what's your answer? You don't necessarily say negative 2, negative 2. We can say x is negative 2 with a multiplicity. Multiplicity. Whoops, I lost an I there. I'm terrible at writing. Multiplicity of 2. And what I refer to that, it means negative 2 happened twice. That answer is just repeating itself. Now on your homework, I'm going to give you guys larger polynomials. And the polynomial here will be x to the 4th plus 4x cubed minus 38x squared minus 228x minus 315. Let me just double check if I copied that right. Okay. And I want to tell you the multiplicity here. Negative 3 is my answer with a multiplicity of 2. Right, so this is my problem right here. I'm going to tell you negative 3 is going to work. I promise you it's going to work. And you're going to have to do it twice because this answer works out twice. So this x to the 4th is twice as hard, essentially, as our x squared problems. So there's nowhere for us to start. I couldn't start with x cubed. Now it's going to be hard to start with x to the 4th. But to get us started in this path of understanding how to do these problems, I will tell you the answers. I'll tell you how to start. And I'm going to tell you you're going to start with negative 3. And we're going to do negative 3 twice. That's negative 3 once. Here's negative 3. My factor that worked is x plus 3 then. So 1, 4, negative 38, negative 228, and negative 315. So synthetic division seems like it's a lot of work, but it's definitely easier than any other method. 1, negative 3, 1, negative 3. This becomes a negative 41 times 3 is positive 120, 123. 30 times 40 is 120, and with a 3. I'm going to combine those to become negative 105. Multiply becomes 305. 315. Sorry, 315. And bam, we got a 0. Okay, that wasn't extremely hard, especially since I gave you the key. That worked. Now, since we said the multiplicity was 2, that means the answer happens twice. So let's go again. Here we go. Write it again. So our factor again would be x plus 3. Turns out it happens twice. And we're going to write this right again. 1, negative 3, negative 2, positive 6, negative 35. And negative 35 times 3 is 90 plus 15 is positive 105. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Check that out, guys. We're left with x to the 4th, x cubed. We're left with x squared. X squared minus 2x minus 35. Let's see if we can factor this. What two numbers make up 35 that subtract out to be 7? Hopefully you guys are catching it and you guys are able to do it a lot faster. So it's 7 and 5. X, 5, x, 7. Who has to be negative? More negatives to the larger number. Now, what are all our factors that we multiply to become x to the 4th, to get the original problem up here? All the factors are going to be x plus 3 squared, x plus 5, x minus 7. Okay. You don't have to write the squared if you don't want to. You can just write this as, write them separate also. You can also write this as x plus 3, x plus 3, and then x plus 5, and then x minus 7. Okay. Got it. Thank you. Okay. 7 and 5. Okay, so that is our work for today. You guys are going to practice this on your homework. There are only about 13 questions. This shouldn't take you much longer because I'm giving you a lot of hints for how to break up the problems. Okay. Thank you very much.